Major scare at a common entrance celebrations event. Elections campaign heating up. And PSV operators seeking a meeting with the police commissioner.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Very good evening to you with the Tuesday, May 8th edition of the CBC Evening News. I'm Ryan Broom. In our top story, an event to mark the end of today's common entrance examination at the Hilton Hotel ended up in a mass casualty situation. Around 3:30 this afternoon, about 200 students, accompanied by around 90 parents and guardians, were on the tennis court on the eastern side of the Hilton Barbados property when one of the tents collapsed and injured several children. Police Public Relations Officer, Acting Inspector Rodney Innes says early reports indicated that around 13 children were injured and one adult. He, however, was not able to confirm the exact number of children injured and the extent of their injuries up to news time. Acting Inspector Innes told CBC News about the major response to the incident.
Response from fire personnel under the leadership of the Deputy Chief Fire Officer. You have 2 tenders and 7 personnel. The ambulance personnel, there are 2 EMTs, 1 driver. The BDF personnel, there's 1 ambulance and two EMTs. And there's personnel from the Labor Department looking after health and safety at this stage.
And in a release this evening, the Ministry of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation says it is saddened by the turn of events which resulted in several Class 4 pupils who had just sat the common entrance exam being injured and taken to hospital for treatment. The ministry says it is indeed an unfortunate end to what should have been an afternoon of celebration and enjoyment. The ministry empathizes with the parents of these students and will continue to monitor the condition of the injured children. Now, after months of preparation and mock tests, it was finally the real deal today as hundreds of primary school students sat today's Barbados Secondary School entrance examinations. This year's 11 plus, as it's popularly called, saw more boys and girls taking the exam. Kishmar St. Gis visited the St. Michael's School and Parkinson Memorial Examination Centers and filed this report.
Parents and guardians ensured their charges were at the over 20 examination centers on time. Over at the St. Michael's School, hugs and kisses were shared as the young ones from St. Ambrose Primary, Erdison School, the People's Cathedral, St. Patrick's Roman Catholic, St. Cyprian's Boys and George Lamin were encouraged to do their best.
I told him to do his best, and whatever best he did is good enough for me.
I've given my son the best advice and told him, well, try your best. It is up to you. This is the first decision you get to make on your own without your parents around. And he's confident about himself, not confident in him too, and he's aiming for foundation.
My advice to him was just to stay focused, read carefully, do it quickly but accurately. His school of choice is QC, and I back him 100% on that.
For these students of George Lamin Primary, they were ready.
I'm aiming to go to Queen's College, and I feel quite excited about today. I feel confident, and I am ready to do it.
I feel confident, and I want to go to Queen's College.
I feel really confident, and I want to go St. Michael's.
I feel very confident, and I know that God has me, and I would like to go to Springer Memorial.
Some eager parents decided to wait on the outside of the examination centers until it was over. At the Parkinson Memorial School, the ringing of the bell at 1 o'clock in the afternoon signaled its end. Students then wasted no time in exiting the center. Another round of hugs and kisses were shared before students spoke to CBC News.
The grammar and maths is easy, and then the mathematics was a little bit hard.
So what school you would like to go to?
St. Michael's. Grammar and composition was kind of easy, but there were some questions in the maths that were tricky.
So you want to go to St. Michael's with your sister or no?
Yes.
She wanted
to go Queens.
How was the common entrance for you?
Good.
Fast English, how did you think you do?
Good.
What about composition? What did you write about?
The picture.
Tell me about it. What picture you write about?
A girl and she father rode on a bicycle.
and that the girl was excited because she had a new bicycle for her birthday.
Which part was the hardest to you?
The mathematics.
Okay, so what school are you looking to go to?
Foundation or St. Michael's.
The exam was pretty easy, the composition and the grammar, but the math was pretty challenging.
Parents and guardians were just as elated as the 11 plus was now over.
I was waiting for this day for the longest time. I don't have to wait anymore. You know, the nightmare, it was a nightmare waiting, but it's over.
Okay, so
it's over.
What school your lady wants aiming for?
As she told you before, she wanted to go to either Springer or Foundation.
And you fully support her?
Yes, please.
Cool.
You see, I told her, it's nothing wrong with the schools, it's what you do when you get there. You understand? So I'm going to back her 100%. Wherever she go, I'm up for it.
Nice. And what about you,
I have two grands that sit today, and they're both aiming for St. Michael and Foundation, and I hope that they will get to where they want to go, but it doesn't matter because a school is a school and it is what it is. So I'm proud of them regardless of whatever goal they achieve here today.
Kishmar Saint-Gis, CBC News.
Thanks, Kishmar. Well, the feeling was more of the same over at the Spring Memorial School, where more than 100 students from several nearby schools sat the exam. Our Sharika Griffith was there.
From about 12:30, parents who had dropped their little ones off at the Springer Memorial School earlier in the day started to gather on the outside of the school compound. With every passing minute, they drew closer and closer to the school gates. It would be 15 minutes past 1 when the first smiling faces of the boys and girls started to emerge to the waiting arms of their parents and guardians. Their relief was obvious.
You don't know how. I feel like it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I'm very glad now it's over. I have 5 months to myself.
I feel amazing because now I have time to play games. And I have my privileges back, like watching TV. Yeah. And it's just amazing that it's over because I can relax now instead of doing work all the days.
Little Romancia Wiltshire could hardly contain her excitement.
The exam was like just like in heaven. It was very good and it's just like if I'm at school doing a normal test. It's so good.
Made it true.
Which paper did you find easiest?
I would say comprehension. Grammar and composition.
Okay. So now that it's all over, what are you planning to do now?
Oh, stay home, go on my phone, watch TV, go in my bed after 1, go to the beach, go to a hotel, go everywhere I want to go.
But the exam was not without its challenges.
There was one question that really gave children a sink in STEM, which was number 47 in maths. I can't really recall the question, but I know it was a difficult one.
And while many of her classmates are planning to kick back and relax, Zakaya Hunt says her focus will now be on athletics.
I'm going to be running for Barbados in Bermuda if I get through for trials, so I'm mostly focusing on track right now.
Okay, so I know sports term was last term. What was it like balancing the schoolwork and track?
It was pretty manageable, as I could see. I did very good in knapsack, and now I got picked for the CUT team, and hopefully I get picked to go and run for Barbados.
Her mum Alicia says it's all about balance.
People would say whether it's exam coming up, stop her, let her concentrate on the work. But I find if you start a child and know what she loves, then she will not be able to focus on the work. So she trained and she did homework. She did lessons, and I believe she did her best today.
And with the hard work over, for now anyways, the celebrations began. For 23 students of Wills Primary School, that involved a run into the sea, which has become a school tradition over the past 3 years.
We just thought it was everyone has their tradition, so we thought it would have been nice to start our own, and that's where we started it. But our first time doing it was at Accra. But obviously because of the seaweed and that sort of stuff, we decided to do it here at Pebbles.
The exam results should be back next month. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Well, in other news, there's concern tonight about the impact the wearing of party colors could have on Barbados beyond the general election. It comes from Education Minister and Christchurch East Central candidate Ronald Jones. Shane Jones reports.
The Democratic Labour Party mounted platforms at Padmore Village in St. Philip and Thorpe's Cottage in St. George last night. While at Padmore Village, Education Minister Ronald Jones says he's worried about the emergence of party colours in the general election.
There's a level of verbal violence present today in our politics. I'm sure some of you saw the little Facebook clip with 3 ladies wearing yellow walking the streets and being harassed by someone driving a motor car. That is emerging in our politics today. And if it does not stop, one can see that some foolishness is going to happen.
Michael Ashley is contesting the election in St. Philip North, where the spot meeting was held. He said going forward, more private transport will be integrated into the system to help with the shortage of buses on the island.
We are the opposition. People believe that we're going to take away their jobs. That is not true. And it is working in Edie Village. Ronald Jones can attest to that. And we're going to bring the buses, working alongside Transport Board, sometimes at peak hours, all peak hours, to improve public transport in this country.
And speaking over at Thorpe's Cottage, Jepter Ince said if he is given the nod come May 24th, he intends to fortify the economic zone that stretches from Salters to Market Hill in St. George North.
We need to give young persons and persons who are in business an opportunity. You need to give them an opportunity. And that opportunity lies in funding. And I'm not speaking about funding where the person have to go and bring, and that is a challenge. So when we speak of funding the agriculture sector and persons who are involved in small businesses and developing that economic zone, I am talking about grant money, money that you don't have to repay.
He says there's room for more businesses that focus on agriculture and other small enterprises.
Well, Minister of Labour and Social Security Dr. Esther Bayosaku has dismissed any rumors that national security is at risk. Speaking in Thorpe's Cottage, Dr. Bayosaku says that the NIS has made sound investments that have left the entity in a strong position to be able to operate for decades.
We have just completed the 15th review of the national insurance, and they've also started to look at the 16th, and there is no evidence that will suggest that there's not going to be a pension for you. In fact, the evidence suggests that if we were to stop paying into the national insurance scheme today, there would still be sufficient money to tide us over for another few decades in there because the investments have been sound.
And Dr. Saku also addressed the unemployment levels, stating that Barbados currently has one of the lowest percentages around the Eastern Caribbean. Well, stabilizing the economy is the first order of business if the Barbados Labour Party is elected. BLP leader Mia Motley made this clear as she addressed a meeting at the corner of Darrells Road and Dighton Road. The location is on the border of the Christchurch West constituency, being contested by Dr. William Duguid and St. Michael South, where Kirk Humphrey is vying for the seat. Kent Jerson was there and filed this report.
Speaking to an attentive crowd, Barbados Labour Party leader Mia Motley said the immediate priority if the BLP is successful at the polls will be to shore up the country's foreign reserves.
If you don't have foreign reserves, you can't buy food, you can't buy oil, you can't buy clothes, you can't buy nothing. Things that are made outside of Barbados, you can't go to New York and spend Barbados money. You got to spend US dollars. You go to England and spend pounds. You go to Canada and spend Canadian dollars. They don't even want to take Barbados dollars in the Eastern Caribbean now, or Trinidad. So you got to solve the problem with the reserves. Then you have to turn around and solve the problem with the debt.
In his address, BLP St. Michael South constituency candidate Kirk Humphrey says the country needs hope. He suggested that a major failing of the Frondell Stewart-led administration was not inspiring Barbadians to believe they can turn around the struggling economy.
I believe that the government has tried to limit your contemplation of the capacity of this country by the conversations that they are choosing to have. That Barbados can do no better than Barbados is currently doing. And that, for me, is one of the greatest injuries inflicted on this country. Because in reality, it is a betrayal to the blood and the sweat and the tears of Barbadians who, for years, have been able to do a lot more than people imagine this little Barbados could do.
And there was an emotional contribution from Christchurch West candidate Dr. William Duguid, who noted the meeting was being held on the spot where his father grew up. He pledged to, among other things, personally fund improvements to the nearby Arthur Smith Primary School.
I am going to give them back a hole out of my pocket again, because we're going to build a canopy going across from one block to the other, and we're going to put down paving stones on the area so that they're going to get back a hole as well. And we're going to fix the bathrooms, and we're going to paint the internal parts of the school once we get the permission from the ministry, because we have to take care of our young people. And if I have to do it out of my pocket, wife, forgive me. If I have to do it out of my pocket, I am going to do it.
Several other candidates spoke on the night, touching topics ranging from transportation to the South Coast sewage issue. Kent Jerson, CBC News.
Thanks, Kent. Well, the Barbados Labour Party's manifesto will take on 4 different forms for the 2018 election campaign. During a media conference this afternoon at the party's Roebuck Street headquarters, General Secretary Dr. Jerome Walcott said there will be the traditional hard copy, a mini manifesto, a digital copy, and an audio copy. He said the documents will include bold and imaginative proposals.
Team DLP will be demonstrating that there is another way, a different way, a better way to the management of our economy for the benefit and advancement of all Barbadians. We are not promising any overnight miracles. We have to clean up the mess the Dems are leaving and restore order to the management of our economic affairs. There will be a continual need for sacrifices in some form, but we believe Barbadians are reasonable and understand this. But what will differentiate us from the Dems is the caring, sensitive, and compassionate approach we will bring in everything we do.
And Dr. Walcott says some burning questions will be answered in what is being dubbed the People's Manifesto.
In terms of how will the BLP afford to pay for students at UE? Where will the BLP find the money to do all the things promised in the manifesto? How will the BLP ease the tax burden? And a number of these very important questions in terms of how will the government boost our foreign reserves? And how will the BLP restore the shattered image of Barbados?
Well, the BLP manifesto launches on Thursday night in Kingsland. Well, there's no bad blood between the Democratic Labour Party and independent candidate for St. John Leroy McLean. That's according to Mr. McLean, who was one of the top picks to run on the DLP ticket after incumbent Mara Thompson retired from elective politics. Even after George Pilgrim was given the go-ahead, McLean says he bears no ill will towards the party. In fact, a confident McLean, who believes he will be victorious, says he's not ruling out the possibility of crossing the floor when he's elected.
And that is of no concern to me right now. I am running to be the representative for the people of St. John, and I'm not running against the Democratic Labour Party across Barbados. I'm running against the candidate in St. John. So what has happened before is water under the bridge, and I'm moving forward. I have no quarrel with the Democratic Labour Party, right? So like I say, what has happened, and the future will be determined at that time.
Welcome back. Well, officials representing public service vehicle operators are calling for a meeting with the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of Transport and Works. This follows a tour of the Rivervan stand where drivers and conductors are reportedly facing a heap of problems. Arlisa Lord reports.
We want to work with the police and we want the police to work with us. This is the commitment of the Alliance owners of public transport. Public Relations Officer Mark Haynes says bad behavior will not be tolerated and most operators are willing to work with law enforcement personnel.
We want to have a very harmonious relationship between the police and the workers. We are also reiterating our position that behavior is paramount. We expect the workers to do what they are required to do and to follow the regulations. No, we are not the regulators. The regulators, which fall under the ambit of the Ministry of Transport and Works, they play a pivotal role in the aspect of discipline. We cannot regulate. We can only speak with the workers, and we can only advise them, urge and beseech them to do what is right according to law.
The National Union of Public Workers has been representing several of the operators since 2015. General Secretary Rosalind Smith says a meeting with the police commissioner and the incoming Transport and Works Minister is necessary if the issues plaguing the operators are to be dealt with.
I recognize that in order to curtail certain activities between the drivers and the police, that we need to sit down and come up with some solutions for the betterment of this service. Because the commuters too, they have a role to play. Not going to the bus pole can cause that driver, if he stops in, being sympathetic to the cause, he can land up in the law courts and spend that day's work. Commuters have to realize that bus stops are for them to await the arrival of a bus or the PSV vehicle. So if they curb that, because I think they said there was a law where they can be arrested too, but I haven't seen many of those commuters being arrested, so we have to revisit to see if that's still on the books. So we have to clean up our act. All parties have to clean up their act.
Chairman of the AOPT, Roy Raphael, says that there has been an improvement in behavior amongst PSV operators as they are now receiving less complaints.
Still the normal complaints of people, the drivers driving off route and so on. We still have that. But when we looked at last year compared to now, there are fewer complaints against PSV. And we thank the public. We encourage them to take photos of these things, pass it on to our command center, and the matter will be dealt with.
The NUPW says it will be calling a meeting shortly with the PSV operators to get an even better understanding of the issues affecting them. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
The National Conservation Commission is moving to have free Wi-Fi access for beach and park users. This has been revealed by Environment Minister Dr. Dennis Lowe. He says the NCC has entered into a partnership with Digicel to make this a reality. Dr. Lowe was speaking during the recent official opening of the gazebo at Silver Sands, Christchurch. Silver Sands Beach and Play Park is the first area to have free Wi-Fi as a result of the new agreement. The Environment Minister says they will have another 16 NCC facilities that will have free internet access in the first instance.
I know how difficult it is for persons who get out of their range and their packages come at your house and want to tap your Wi-Fi service. Humbug you for your password and they nag you until they're able to get access. You can now come to this park, sit in that gazebo or anywhere around here, and you can have free access to Wi-Fi services. That is a remarkable, remarkable accomplishment.
And Dr. Lowe says it's an expensive undertaking and perhaps people from outside of the immediate communities can make a donation to the cause.
I believe that a very fanciful hut should be placed right there at the entrance, and that when you come, the arm will be down, you either buy a ticket or do something of the sort, and you are able to come in and park and have access. I lived in North America for 16 years. I've never gone to a public park where you did not have to pay something to access that park. What we do, really, is to ask people to take out memberships. So, for example, a family can say, I'm a family of 5, and I want to take out a membership of $100 a year, for example, and that gives you free-flowing access to the park. We've got to move it up. We've got to move up and step up our game.
A mother in Grenada is mourning the death of her 2 children, whose lives were cut short after they perished in a house fire. Another child managed to escape the blaze. We have a report from MTV News.
Exactly 1 week before Mother's Day, Agnes Lewis is living a parent's nightmare. Her wails filled the Fontenoy air on Sunday morning as the remains of 2 of her sons were carried out on stretchers. Hours before, while she was reportedly out on a quick errand, her home became engulfed in flames. The fire ravaged the board and concrete dwelling. While her eldest son, a 5-year-old, escaped the flames unharmed, 3-year-old Jamal Frederick and 2-month-old Javante Frederick would not survive. One resident, who is also a relative of the affected family, gave an account of the incident.
Well, I only heard the noise, I heard the madam here calling out Alicia, that's the children's mother. And when I rush over and I come, there's nothing could I do. I couldn't do nothing. It's just only fire alone you see, right on the building.
Okay, how many children was in the house?
This is 2 there, and she went to the depot to go and do some shopping. So she left them there sleeping. So they know, and police still searching to see what they can do.
Okay. You know the names of the persons?
Well, I knew the children's name, but the mother is Alicia Lewis.
Okay, so what time so the fire started?
Well, I have a clue how I jump up. I look at time or nothing, so I can't average the time. I know what time you start.
Okay, and you had villagers come in and try to help out the fire?
Yeah, the lady up there, my son out in using a hose, spraying to show you the boys. That water liquor, so little he couldn't nothing. But the lady upstairs, they will call out to the mother and making noise and alerting people on the fire, you know. So when we come, there was nothing we could do.
The mother, Miss Lewis, was inconsolable. Relatives and neighbors were shaken and in disbelief as they watched on at the rubble.
I got the phone call, like Minister 8 from, my husband got a call actually from Patrick David saying there's a house on fire right behind my grandfather. And then Marcus Bailey called me and tell me there's a fire right behind. He said from the time he see the fire, the house was down.
Well, in Guyana, a man who attacked his wife with a rolling pin in their home was sentenced to 18 months in prison. The woman was injured during the incident, as we hear in this HGP-TV report.
The 43-year-old Colin Millington stood before Magistrate Judy Latchman and admitted that he maliciously attacked his wife with a rolling pin on May 5 in Camerville. According to Prosecutor Arwin Moore, on the day of the incident, Millington's wife, Jessica Fernandes, was in the kitchen preparing breakfast when her husband picked up a rolling pin and dealt her several blows about her body. The prosecutor stated that after the trashing, Fernandes reported the matter to the police. The prosecutor told the court that when the minor was arrested, he told Ranks, quote-unquote, that she should have gotten more. Millington denied that he made the statement. Before sentencing, Millington told the magistrate that for the past 5 years of his marriage, his wife had led an affair with a police officer. Millington further said that on the day of the incident, he and his wife were involved in a heated argument over the alleged infidelity. He said that he acted hastily in anger and was willing to take full responsibility for his actions. Magistrate Latchman then sentenced the man to 18 months imprisonment, while urging him not to assault his wife or any other woman again.
Well, St. Lucians have just about 7 months before the passing of healthcare insurance legislation and a little less than a year before implementing a national health insurance program. This was disclosed by Prime Minister Alain Chastanet during yesterday's pre-cabinet media conference. We get more in this report from HTS.
Fresh off a trip to the Kentucky Derby and a press conference with TSH Chairman Teoa King, Prime Minister Alain Chastanet returned with a bold pronouncement to the public. Healthcare has dominated the news cycle for the past months, and in particular, the state of healthcare, the St. Jude reconstruction saga, the cost, and the question of whether to privatize the Owen King EU Hospital or not. The medical fraternity has been tirelessly voicing their concerns over the state of healthcare, with members of the Medical and Dental Association making at least 3 appearances on local talk shows in the past week. Apart from a lack of transparency, critics have also accused the Alain Chastanet administration of a perceived lack of a clear or coherent healthcare policy. On Monday, Chastanet told reporters that Cabinet has never wavered on its positions. One, he says, is that Cabinet has accepted the proposal to statutize the OKEU. The second proposal, according to him, was an increase in NIC contributions,
which currently is at 10%. The proposal was to move it to 15%.
Cabinet was not in agreement with that because we felt that while that might be able to generate sufficient funds to be able to cover the healthcare cost, but it would not make it accessible by the average solution. So people who currently don't have access to healthcare, by putting on the NIC contribution and improving the quality of the hospitals, they're still not going to have access. So it becomes a matter of affordability. And it's for that reason that Cabinet has been now moving to introduce a national healthcare insurance policy. So what we want to do is we want to create a system where every single solution, let me repeat that, every single solution will have healthcare insurance in this country.